of it. With us tonight, the British lawyer Casey Rodney Dixon, who the Azeri government have hired to contest that opinion. He's with us. Also here, journalist and political analyst with Calabar Az newspaper, which is based in Azerbaijan, Orkan Amashov. Thank you both for being with us. Rodney Dixon, can I start with you? You've been hired by the Azeri government, if I'm right in saying this, just on the basis of the opinion that Luis Moreno Ocampo has put forward to contest his view that this is a genocide, correct?
Yes, I've been commissioned by the government of Azerbaijan to review the report and the allegations made and its findings, because it was a very serious allegation that was leveled.
So, just to be clear, you've not been on the ground, you've not spoken to people in this Armenian enclave. You're making your judgment purely on the basis of international law.
Yes, on the basis of the law applicable, also on the basis of what Mr. Ocampo has alleged and what is publicly available. So looking at it in an independent way to determine whether or not this allegation is made out.
So what would you say then in legal terms about the blockade and why it does not amount, in your view, to a genocide or to genocidal behaviour?
It doesn't amount to a genocide because Mr. Ocampo hasn't identified any evidence to show that you can't make an allegation as serious as genocide. We all know the historical basis of it and how important it is without there being very clear evidence. And in particular, I highlighted the fact, as you mentioned in your report, that the government of Azerbaijan is offering food to the population in Nagorno-Karabakh through the Agdam route, a route that the ICRC and the EU have said could be used. And in that case, where food is clearly available, it's hard to reconcile that with an intention to destroy the group.
But isn't the point that they don't trust where the food is coming from, what it is, and also if they accept the food, Mr. Dixon, they are saying that that would be tantamount to accepting Azeri control over their territory?
Well, the food is being provided through this route by independent organizations like the ICRC. It's there to help ordinary people so they can get on.
Not through the Azeri route, correct? The ICRC support comes through the Lachin corridor. This is Azeri food aid that's coming through the other route.
Well, the Red Crescent has taken food along that route and been stopped from going in by those in Nagorno-Karabakh. The route can be used by international organizations. That's the route in Azerbaijan. And the Lachin corridor was used by the Red Cross for a considerable period of time, right up until June, July. So my point is that is important evidence that a proper lawyer must take into account before they make an allegation that there's an intention to physically destroy the civilian population inside. That's a very serious allegation to make. And you can't do that when there are routes available for food to go in. It's contradictory.
Orkan Amashov, are people in Nagorno-Karabakh without food?
No. First of all, in order for Azerbaijani Red Crescent Society, which dispatched 40 tons of flour to the Agdam, where those trucks are still waiting to gain access to the territory controlled by the Russian peacekeeping contingent, they haven't made a proper analysis of the situation on the ground because they need to be there physically on the ground to be able to make their own estimates and establish whether the situation there is of humanitarian character. From on the basis of what we have seen on the social media, on the basis of videos and photos, it's very clear that there are certain Armenians in Karabakh who are enjoying a life of plenty, but of course there are those who are not in the best circumstances. But to be able to fix this issue, Azerbaijan has offered Agdam Khankandi Road repeatedly, and currently at the entrance of the Agdam Khankandi Road, 2 trucks provided by Azerbaijani Red Crescent Society are waiting to gain access, and those trucks contain 40 tons of flour.
Well, we just talked about why they don't want to accept that. The point is the Lachin corridor was part of a tripartite agreement, and the Azeri government committed to keeping the Lachin corridor open. The European Court of Human Rights, the International Court of Justice, they've both called on the Azeri government to restore freedom of movement and to stop politicising food aid. Is the Azeri government in breach of the agreement that it signed back in 2020?
Well, I think the separatist regime based in Khan Kandi is politicising the food issue because Lachin Road is currently open, albeit in a limited scope, for the purpose of the transfer of those in medical need and for medical deliveries. And we have to understand why Lachin Road is not suitable for the purpose of the transportation of large humanitarian convoys, because there's a massive security risk there. On the 15th of June, there was a shooting incident. And then early July, the Armenians, the Karabakh Armenians, were trying to use the cars belonging to the RCRC in order to be able to smuggle unauthorized goods into Karabakh. So, and there was an agreement achieved on the 15th of July, the principle of complementarity, that both Lachin Road and Aghdam Khan Kandi Road should be operational. The fact of the matter is that presently Lachin Road is operational for the purpose of the transfer of those in medical need, but Aghdam Khan Kandi Road is not. It's a matter of territorial
just to be clear on the ICRC, they say no unauthorised material has been found in any vehicle belonging to the ICRC. All cargo is subject to customs checks by the Republic of Azerbaijan. Hang on. They say, however, we regret that without our knowledge, 4 hired drivers tried to transport some commercial goods in their own vehicles marked with ICRC emblems. They were sacked and their contracts immediately terminated.
That effectively means that ICRC should have exercised due diligence, because those cars...
But can the Azeri government not check convoys going through the Lachin corridor? Could it not stop the transport of banned materials?
Well, on the 23rd of April, Azerbaijan established border checkpoint. Prior to that point, that Lachin Road was used by Armenians for the purpose of transfer of ammunition and weapons. So what happened after 23rd of April? From 23rd of April, for 2 months, that road was fully operational, with Armenians using their private vehicles being able to travel via the Lachin Road.
Well, that's not strictly true, is it? Because Azeri protesters did block it before June. It was sporadic, the transport through there.
What are you effectively referring to? You're effectively referring to eco-protests, which started in December of 2022. And during those 3 months, when the eco-protest was underway, that road was open for the movement of the cars of the Russian peacekeeping contingent and RCRC in both directions. And after 23rd of April, that road was open for Armenians residing in Karabakh, using for their private cars and moving in both directions. And after 15th of June, there was a temporary suspension of movement.
Okay. Mr. Dixon, have you looked in your legal argument, have you looked at what the obligations are on the Azeri government with respect to that road, to the Lachin corridor? What are their international obligations?
What I've looked at is whether or not this allegation of genocide is properly made out. And why it's important to do that is because by making such an emotive allegation, the difficulty is, the real problem is that it inflames the situation. What I've found is that clearly there's an issue here between the parties that has to be resolved. The Security Council has said that it must be resolved. There must be a solution found. But it's certainly not a genocide. And to call it a genocide in the midst of all of this difficulty and tension only makes it harder for the parties to come together and find a peaceful resolution. And that's why I was very strongly indicating that the genocide allegation must be removed from the equation. It only stirs up tensions. Rather, the parties must sit down and find a solution, which is what the Security Council has asked them to do.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Rodney Dixon, Orkan Amashov, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Around the world and across the UK, this is